Joining me is Shany, researcher, Israel Democracy Institute from Tel Aviv again. Thank you so much for your time, hoping and praying for your safety and that of your loved ones. I want to begin by asking you, as far as the support from the West is concerned, that has been forthcoming on one hand as far as Israel is concerned. On the other hand, we have the Hezbollah clearly saying that we are backing Hamas, and of course we know how Iran has backed Hamas. This only is going to lead to further escalation and prolonged war, isn't it?
That's certainly a possibility. It's hard to predict how it pans out. But yes, the main state sponsor of Hezbollah is Iran, which is also, in a much less direct way, the main state sponsor of Hamas. To the extent that Iran has its own regional ambitions and its own goals, not least of which is scuttling the Israeli-Saudi normalization deal that the Biden administration has been working so hard on, then that's where they stand. They are willing to pursue their interests to the last drop of Palestinian, Lebanese, or Syrian blood. The Iranians, that is.
Right. You know, I also want to ask you, what's your comment and your take on what's being said by many outside of Israel, essentially, who say that this is really about the Palestinian cause, the right to self-determination, and Israel started this first, in essentially defending Hamas and their actions?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by this nonsense. There's nothing that's been more destructive to Palestinian self-determination than actions like Hamas. It doesn't come isolated. It comes as part of a long history. Palestinian politics for a century has been dominated less by the desire to establish their own state and more by the burning desire to prevent the establishment and then destroy the Jewish state next door. There have been so many countless times when the Palestinians could have established their own state by peaceful means or even less peaceful means, through international mediation, through direct negotiation with Israel, and have rejected them, have rejected anything that involves reconciling themselves to the existence of a Jewish state next door. In the case of Gaza, Israel withdrew from 80% of Gaza in 1994 in the context of an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement, and it immediately became a base for Palestinian terrorism. 11 years later, in 2005, Israel withdrew completely from all that remained of its presence in Gaza, including settlers and civilians. This self-governing, essentially, city-state, which could have been a Singapore on the Mediterranean, became a base for this kind of nihilistic, destructive Hamas terrorism. It instantly became a base for rocket attacks in Israel and attempted terrorist infiltrations. The way that Hamas, not just Hamas, but the way that the Palestinian leadership and society has used the absence of any Israeli presence since 2005 is not entirely different from the way it used and abused the years of autonomy in the Oslo process and the way it used and abused and misused the British mandate. In all three of those cases, an opportunity for building a self-determining, self-governing society was squandered when the priority was on murdering Jews.
That's right. You know, also, my last question to you is the manner in which, things have moved over the last 3 days or so, beginning the attacks on Saturday. What's your view on how the United Nations or in this case, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, can intervene in this entire situation?
I don't think that either the ICJ or the UN has any particular role to play in this situation. I don't anticipate them having a positive role, if any at all. I'm very heartened to see the incredible support that Israel has received from its allies in the West. And I hope this stays and remains the case through some difficult days ahead. It was easy for them to come with pronouncements supporting Israel after this horrific massacre that happened on Saturday. But I suspect that much of the support will be tested for real in the coming days and weeks.
All right. I'm going to thank you, Shany, for joining us with your views